hope so. Okay, oh wait, I forgot my pointer. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so welcome to Speck&Tech. Those of you who decided to come here in the middle of December with minus 5 degrees while having exams and hard times and football matches and so on. The previous time we were always on a Monday, today it was a Wednesday, also because we have a speaker from the US here with us. So I guess we can start, and today we're gonna, wait a second. And we're gonna talk about taking off. So the topic is a bit wide, it might mean many things, but the two talks that we're gonna have, one is gonna be focused on drones, so flying and taking off in that sense, in a physical sense. And the second one will be about Lowell, talking about how to take off in an economical way. So how to scale up and how to grow your company, your startup, and make it boost. So going from a couple of millions to hundreds of millions. So, okay, it's turned off. Okay, magic. Okay, first of all, as always, we present our sponsors. And first of all, we have Impact Hub, the co-working space here. We have no, as you see, I'm alone. There's no Giulio this time, so he's not gonna tell you how beautiful this co-working space is. But as you see around, there's a number of companies and startups working here, and it might be really interesting if you just pass by and you talk to people, and you mingle with them, and you say, hey guys, I'm working at this project. I would be really interested to talk about that with you, to discuss about that, to move here, to work maybe in the future. So keep in mind there are more than 70 or 80 Impact Hubs around the world. It's a really cool network, so keep in mind. Then we have Segata, and this is the reason why some of you might be here. They're based in Sopramonte. They have a hub in Gardalo where we go to get the meat. And they have speck, mortadella, prosciutto, and a number of cold cuts and cold meats that you might be really interested in, and that you will taste in a couple of hours. So don't forget about that. They're really, really cool, and they have a lot of meat as well. So if you want to have a barbecue or how would call like bracciolata in Italian, you might really count on them. And then we have EIT Digital. I'm the representative of the alumni of EIT Digital, and I'm going to start working by them from January on. And they are supporting us. They are actually the partners of us for this event. And I think every one of you might be really interested in what they're doing, because they are actually driving the Europe digital transformation. They are an organization that is trying to boost the technological skills in Europe, also together with the business and the entrepreneurship ones. So I'm going to talk a bit about what EIT Digital is and what they're doing, because I guess many of you might be interested. People from the bachelor might be interested in EIT Digital for doing a master. People from the master might be interested for doing a PhD. People from startup might be interested in mentorship or might be interested in accelerators from EIT Digital. And the cool thing is that it was all born from the European Union. As you know, there are 28 member states with more than 500 million people spread all over Europe. And one of the frameworks they have is Horizon 2020. And within the Horizon 2020, there was EIT, which was born, which is actually a body of the European Union. And they are spread out around Europe, and there are more than 6 bodies of them, so more 6 organizations. They have Climate Kick, fighting for climate change. There are EIT Health. There's EIT Digital, as I was saying. There's EIT Raw Materials, focusing on the raw materials. There's InnoEnergy, focusing on renewable energies. And I think many of you that may have different backgrounds might be interested in getting in contact with them, even if you're not from the technological or digital environment. So as you see, this is the structure. There's the European Union that founded the EIT in 2008. And then in 2010, there's EIT Digital leading the digital side. But together with it, there's climate, InnoEnergy, EIT Health, raw materials, and food, which was just born this year. So if you have like an interest in any of these areas, you might get in contact with them, because they have accelerators, startups, mentoring, PhD, summer schools, master school, and it might be really cool for you as well. So they focus on this is a strategy because they focus on the so-called knowledge triangle. because they focus on education, research, and innovation, putting all them together to boost the digital aspect in Europe. And moreover, it's a pan-European ecosystem. As you see, there's a lot of countries involved in that. They have, EIT Digital has 9 nodes, plus he has a hub in the Silicon Valley. And they try to reach all over Europe thanks to the ARISE program. So they also reach countries that are not partner of EIT Digital. So for example, Croatia or Greece or Poland or whatever, thanks to the ARISE program. What are the achievements they did? Up to now, they raised 9 companies and more than 50 products as in 2016. And they raised 77 million euros by the startups that they're accelerating and they're boosting. Plus, they coached more than 200 startups from the EIT Digital Accelerator, and they have more than 130 partners. 20-something of them are universities. For example, I studied the first year in Paris and the second year in Berlin. But we have people here, where is Michele? Okay, he studied the first year in Berlin, the second in Paris. We had Leonardo, he did the same path as me. There's a lot of people that studied in Trento, for example, for the first year, then in Budapest. They have, all the other partners are from organization, institution, research centers, companies, startups, and whatever that are all part of the ecosystem, and they try to help each other to grow. And one example that came out of EIT Digital is distribution, that is becoming the new hub for bus riding around Europe. And they're expanding a lot, they're getting a lot of customers around Europe. And in 2016, EIT Digital helped them to raise 6 million of investment from Norway investors, Norwegian investor. And in July 2016, they made a deal with Amadeus that I hope every one of you knows what they are. And then there's also Security Matters that in September 2016 raised more than 5 million euros from 4 venture capitalists. And talking about education, which some of you, especially students, might be interested, they have master's school, doctoral school, professional school. So if, for example, any of you might also interested in a special course, they have a lot of courses, they're so-called MOOC, that are online, and then you can just take a look at them, take the video, register, and watch it online, focusing, for example, on big data or privacy or a number of things. And also the people coming from, for example, the master school, as I did, some of them became really famous. For example, Karen's, his startup, Plugify, got 750,000 euros in funding in the Netherlands. Or Niels, he wrote his thesis based on how he managed to hack any kind of drone with just a 40 euro kit. And he talked at RSA 2016 hacking conference in San Francisco, and also at Black Hat Asia in Asia. And yeah, talking about drones, there's Michele here that will have a talk soon about drones. Yeah, so just get in touch, follow EIT Digital. They're based in Povo, in the ex-Trento Rise and what's the name? FBK building. Follow them on Twitter and whatever, get involved. And if you're really interested in this, tomorrow in Povo, there's the Italian Innovation Day, where EIT Digital will showcase all the innovation they brought in Italy, because they invest more than 70 million euros to bring innovation to Italy, thanks to the master school, doctoral school, and the accelerators and different programs. So get involved, and tomorrow there's going to be this event from 9 to 4 p.m. in the ex-Trento Rise building in Povo. And another interesting event that you might be interested in tomorrow, it's from 6 to 8 p.m. and it's called A Very Hacking Christmas. And it's presented by Open Wet Lab, which is a biohacking group here in Trento. And it's going to be at Bokik from 6 to 8. And there's going to be a number of talks, molecular cocktails, and then free buffet for everyone. So they just asked me to promote it, and since we want to create kind of an ecosystem and raise the awareness of the events happening in the area, you might be interested as well. So, like us on Facebook, we are Speck&Tech, and we are really interested in what you like, why people come to an event, what are the talks that you're more interested in. So we are preparing now the events for 2017, but we want to hear your feedback. So if you say, I would really like to talk about drones, you can just tell us and we will find someone talking about drones, or you can also say, hey, I would like to talk about security or privacy or whatever, or this new platform, this new tool, this new design software or whatever. And you can say, I also have this guy, this friend that is really good at this. He might be really interested in doing a talk at Speck&Tech. So let us know. We will have a survey in the next upcoming days. And I guess we can now take off with Michele. A big applause for him.
Okay, can you hear me? Yep. Yeah.
Okay, final thing. There are beers over there. You can just get one, drop a coin for the community. We use this money for paying the beers for the next time, and then for getting some speakers as well in the future. And we are organizing a number of cool features in the 2017, like events, workshops, hackathons, and so on. So keep in touch, and now the word to Michele. Just to press. Yeah.
Okay, guys. So my name is Michele DALLACHIESA, and I'm the CTO and founder of SkySense. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Michele DALLACHIESA, and I'm the CTO and founder of SkySense. We are building completely autonomous drones, and today I will give you a brief overview of the drone market, plus some insights on what we are building at SkySense. So nowadays drones can be used in several different diverse applications, including agriculture, construction, inspection, and security. These are the main industrial applications of drones. By the way, in this presentation I will not include any reference to drones used for weddings or photography or whatever. We are not going in that direction as a company, and it's not going to be part of my presentation. So let's see how the drone market is structured. These are some evaluations from Goldman Sachs Research Labs that try to overview how the job market will look like for the drone economy. And this gives you also an insight of where the money in drones is today. So as you see, construction is a big player here. More than $100 million are expected in jobs are expected to be generated. Followed up by agriculture, insurance, oil, gas. Here I mean inspection of oil, gas pipelines or offshore drilling areas, and patrolling some police. And where is this money flowing to? Here we see three maps. In the first view, we see basically investments that don't go above 1.5 billion. As you see here, Italy is the lowest bound. It's now followed, unfortunately we cannot see it much, in Europe from France, plus some states in Asia. And then here in the third map we have the big players, which are the big states investing a lot in drones. United States, China, UK, and we see also in Asia we have a great interest. I will skip these slides. Okay, so as you saw, the market is growing pretty big in the next 5 years. But which are the main applications and why drones are useful? In the next slides, I will try to explain you why this technology is useful today and why it's saving money. So in agriculture, this is I tried here to describe with some pictures which are the main applications. So as of today, you can map a field and identify problems with the health of the crop. So, for example, you can identify problems in the how is it called? In the photosynthesis or in the irrigation systems. This is something you can do autonomously, just with aerial pictures. And these insights you get from drones can then be applied back again with drones, for example, with fertilizers, localized in very specific points where fertilizers are required. This way you save time and money because you use also less fertilizers. Then construction, as we saw before in previous slides, it's one of the largest segments. Monitoring change in big construction sites is as of today is a really big problem. So basically, managers don't know what's happening in the construction site. They don't know how much earth is in one area and how much should be moved to another one. And all these estimations and all this evaluation of the current state of the construction site can be automated quite a lot with the use of drones. You can estimate how much earth is located in one area. You can monitor how is proceeding the construction. Then inspection. This is another very, very important market for us as well. So, for example, here with Airbus, Airbus is already using drones to inspect the aircrafts. So they are not using any more big, complex and expensive devices inside their hangars to take all these pictures, but they are using drones. And why are they taking pictures of their aircrafts? For quality control. If there's something visible that is not as expected, then this is a problem for the quality control guys. Another important area is the inspection of drill operations and wind turbines as well. In all these applications, when you need to inspect the plant, you need to stop it for safety reasons. While if you use drones, you don't need to stop the operations. For example, for oil offshore operations, if you stop the whole plant for one day, $1 million are just gone for just a couple of days. While using drones, you don't need to stop the operations. It's just way, way cheaper to operate inspections in this way. And then, of course, surveillance. This is probably the first application of drones. And one thing that I should add here is that in this application, drones, wired drones, tethered drones are going to be used. Their use is going to increase a lot. So wired tethered drones are drones that have a wire connection to the ground that is providing power supply, so that you can have drones flying around for hours without problems. And finally, this is something that is getting bigger and bigger, FPV racing. So people are playing with drones and racing against each other. There are already international competition. We have, even in Italy, we have really famous players abroad. We have winners of international competitions, and this is getting bigger and bigger. Okay, so now you have at least a quick overview of why drones are useful, and I will now dig deeper in what SkySense is doing with drones. And I will start with this quote from Jeff Bezos from Amazon: "Drones will be as common as seeing a mail truck." So once you assume that this is going to be true, what happens? Well, of course, there's a lack of infrastructure. Why? Because to operate these devices, these robots, you need humans. Why? Because drones are deployed manually. You need to bring them to the field. You need to swap their batteries. And you need to collect all the data, all the captured images and videos, again manually. And therefore, there cannot be completely autonomous operations. You always rely on humans, on operators. and this is expensive. So this is why at SkySense we started building the first drone charging infrastructure. All these charging stations for drones provide several services to the drones connected to our network, including the following ones. So, of course, we provide autonomous battery charging. The drones in our network can land on our platforms, charge, and then take off again. Second, we provide pre-flight and in-flight checks. So if something is going to break soon, we let you know. Third, the mission planner. If you want to operate these drones remotely, you need to program them, to program the route of the flight, to program the inspection. And we provide a web mission planner that you can operate remotely. Then, of course, communication. You can download the pictures you took from your drone, and you can have video streaming directly from the drone to your office. And finally, all the captured footage is analyzed autonomously, trying to identify defects, problems in the images. So basically, we try to help the engineers that are performing the inspections, that are analyzing all the images, because part of the process can be automated. For example, out of 1,000 pictures, we can maybe prune 80%, because for sure there's no defect in those images. So we save time for the quality department engineers. So which are the components? Now that we saw the services we provide, which are the components of this infrastructure? Well, first we started off with the SkySense charging station. This is where we started in 2014. And it's a completely autonomous charge station for battery-powered drones. And it works with nearly all battery-powered drones. So our clients can just buy charging stations for their own drones, and this is how we started. Then the SkySense Network Manager. This is our web interface to the network of charging stations and drones that are connected to our cloud. The SkySense Mission Planner. This is a planner we developed since last summer, so summer 2016, that allows you to communicate remotely with your drone and to program the flight plan. Web RTC video streaming. This is something we worked on this autumn. So this is one additional service we started to provide to our clients. From a technical perspective, how do we build the whole structure? What's the architecture behind these products, these services? Well, at the baseline, we have the drones, the charge stations, and the robots. When I say robots here, I mean that there might be not just drones, but even ground robots, rovers, or other kinds of robots that can perform inspections. Because from an abstraction point of view, it doesn't really make any difference in our cloud. Because all these devices are abstracted as ROS devices. So each drone, each robot, each station is mapped to one single ROS instance. And all these ROS instances are interconnected in our SkySense network, where we interconnect to our connected devices all the services we want to provide. So it's basically a big communication service hub. And on top of this, third-party clients and our web interfaces interact with the underlying system. So all these components allow us to provide these end services to our clients. First of all, we provide the charge and storage infrastructure with charge stations and hangars. I didn't mention this before, but we also provide and build remote-controlled hangars for drones. Then the drone platform with the camera and a 2D, 3D web mission planner that you can use to plan flight missions in indoor and outdoor environments. Keep in mind that there are several drone applications in indoor environments. So this is very important to be able to fly indoor. So yes, denied environment, you need to rely on different positioning systems. Things get a little bit more complex, but they are very interesting use cases. And finally, once you have all this video footage and the images you captured, we provide visual analytics on all this information. This is something it's on our roadmap, but we didn't yet release the system. So, since 2014, we started basically a pre-order campaign for our charging stations, and from that point on, we built a good client base, and these are some of our clients. So basically, companies working either drone manufacturers that want to experiment with the technology, or solution providers for the inspection and security markets, or even governments that want to try and test the technology. And now I will highlight 3 projects that we are working on right now, or that we will work on very soon. First, we start working with Airbus since this October on inspecting aircrafts with our system in their main site in Hamburg, Germany. So, as I mentioned before, for this use case, we're going to fly around the aircraft, taking several pictures. So here, again, it's very important to, for example, not crash into the aircraft. If something bad happens, the drone should land immediately. You shouldn't even touch the aircraft, otherwise it's a huge problem and very expensive problem for quality department. Once we have all these pictures, we stick them together. We recreate a 3D model of the aircraft with data that Airbus will provide us. And at that point, we will analyze the 3D reconstruction, looking for scratches or any defect that is that can be detected automatically. Second, we'll work soon. Actually, we already started, but we will work soon also on other parts of this platform, on an indoor security system. In this project that is based in Spain, drones are flying inside industrial plants in indoor and outdoor areas for security and surveillance reasons. So basically, these drones are patrolling an area, providing security services, and the system is integrated with the existing security service. And finally, this is a project we started working on since last summer, so July 2016. High throughput skinning. This is a problem that biologists have. So you wanna perform many thousand experiments very quickly to experiment and find new drugs. How is it done today? You basically have big robots moving microplates containing many samples, like basically one drop for all possible combinations of the chemicals they want to test. And when they verify that the test is positive based on some properties, then this is moved forward with more tests and more experiments and more expensive tests. So it's a cheap and fast way to find new drugs. The problems today with these big robots is that they are pretty expensive, difficult to move, and they are dangerous. When they move around, if you get too close, they kill you very quickly. So we are part of this experimental project that plans to substitute these big robots with small drones, flying drones, moving microplates from point A to point B, then to point C to charge, and then again. In this way, you can reconfigure very quickly the lab. You can move very quickly these drones, these deployments. It's way cheaper, and it's also safer. So this is more or less the conclusion of my presentation, and I want to give you a big picture of what this has been for me for the last couple of years. So this is what we've done since the beginning to today, basically. We went to Y Combinator for their on-site interview. It was fast. We got trashed very quickly, but at least we entered that door. We've been part of the Qualcomm Textiles Accelerator in San Diego, and this has been an incredible opportunity. We've been exposed to all their research activities. We worked really hard with them to find possible collaborations with their research departments. Before this, we've been in Startup Chile, where we basically got the first funding to start building the system. And it has been a very long run since the beginning, and we're still fighting every day to bring together more features and more clients, but it's pretty exciting. So this is why I'm doing this. Thank you. This concludes the presentation.
Okay, a couple of questions for Michele. We have time. He was 6 minutes shorter than expected. So everyone having questions about drones, about SkySense, about their experience. I have one, actually. How important was for you being trashed at the first experience?
You mean at Y Combinator?
Yeah.
Well, they provided very good feedback. The work was pretty fast. You're not going to sell enough charge stations, period. So they basically gave us very clear market estimation. They outlined very quickly which was the problem. And from that point, we integrated that feedback and we changed a little bit our focus. So yeah, it was useful. More questions? More questions?
I guess we cannot go around with this microphone because we have a cable, but you can shout.
So I missed you setting up. You have set up these charging stations already, or you're going to?
Yeah. We are already in business since 2 years, and we are already more than 30 customers using that.
Can you speak to your business model a little bit about that?
Sorry?
Can you speak about your business model?
Yeah. So we started off selling the charge stations. That business model didn't work. We are now providing the whole system as a service, and this is basically our business model. You can have pilot installations, and one can range between $15,000 and $150,000, and this is for the whole system. And we are still experimenting with the business model as a service. We are still trying to figure out what's the best fit for us.
So I'm just curious how you grow this. So do you start locally, like in one state, and you try and grow, speak in the US?
Okay, I'm going to repeat the question because people streaming will like to hear. So he said?
No, I was curious how you started off. You tried to start and grow this geographically, or you're trying to set up charging stations across the continent? Or?
Okay, so you started geographically, you started setting up locations and charging stations here and around the continent, or?
Yeah, so you're basically asking how do we get to the clients.
It seems like a huge startup cost to install.
Yeah, so the early beginning was on our roadshow tour in California. We went around with the charge stations, showing this to any drone company out there. And suddenly, at some point, someone asked how much did it cost, what was the price. We didn't even know. So we made up very quickly a price for that at that time. So this is how we started. Then how are we moving forward today? We are talking with companies worldwide. We don't care geographically. We are not bounded to any geographical region. Yeah. It's basically large corporations and innovation departments, research centers, universities doing innovation. Of course, this is pretty new technology. It's not even, for example, legal in Italy and in most part of Europe. But of course, we are at the forefront in terms of innovation when you want to bring all these systems completely autonomous.
Any other questions? Yeah, maybe I can reach you.
Yeah. You talked before about Amazon and drones. I want to know if you think that it's plausible that in a few years we will have drones bringing us our shoes, because I mean, I think there are problems like weight, security problems, and so on. I don't get how they could manage this.
Yeah, same for me. I was asking about the privacy concerns regarding this. I know it's one of the hottest topics.
Yeah, so regarding logistics, that is the Amazon use case, they have big regulatory problems because these drones are flying around over people, they weight a lot, so it's very dangerous. So what's going next for them? I doubt that there will be drones flying around to your place anytime soon. Maybe in remote areas this makes sense. For example, in Germany, DHL is already connecting one small island for medical equipment, for example. If you need medicines very quickly, this is a way to provide it. In Africa, it makes sense where there are no roads or it takes forever to reach a certain point. And they are really, actually not startups anymore, they're making a lot of profits already, with drones flying around and releasing small packages with parachutes on villages, for example. This is something already happening for a small, for delivery of small packages.
Any other questions? What's out?
Two things. The first, you have the charging station. The charging station is operated by a man or is automatic? The second one, if there is a man in the charging station, is one man in the middle between the company who have the drone and you who provide your service. So from the security point of view, if I am a company, I have my drone, I use your service. If the charging station is operated by a man, maybe that man can use my drone to do something bad, and the responsibility is a problem.
Okay, is there a man in the middle?
No, so how does it work? The charge station is a tessellation of conductive tiles that are activated dynamically. When the drone lands, there are a couple of spring contacts on one of the legs at a certain distance so that there are never shorts. But the two contacts are always on two different tiles. In this way, we can always detect the drone and provide power supply with the correct polarity. And there's no human being in the middle, so the drone lands and that's it. And usually the charge station is a property of the company that is operating the drone as well. We would like to have networks of charge stations like gas stations, but we are not yet there.
So you talked talked about flying drones, but also about drones that operate on land. Since you're a drone expert, I was just curious how much a autonomous car could be thought of as a drone in the future, since you said that it doesn't really matter if it's flying or not, your platform could support both, and autonomous cars are also on the rise. And could that be a solution? As you know a lot about the topic, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I think that moving people around with autonomous cars is not really the Skysense focus, so I don't think we're going to go in that road. But for example, Airbus is building quadcopters that should be able to fly autonomously, carrying one human on board.
I'm just thinking about moving on and not carrying people.
Okay. What do you mean?
Autonomous vehicles like trucks or...
Okay. No, we are not targeting autonomous cars for moving people around. No, this is definitely interesting, but I think that there are still many more challenges than just connecting the clients with the possible riders and so on.
Okay, time for final question. Otherwise, yeah, last one. Here it is.
Are there already use cases for a network of charge stations like yours? I mean, when you talked about surveillance, agriculture, the other area, in my view, they are like islands separated from each other. Do you already have some customers that requires the network?
We have already customers that are operating multiple charge stations at single sites. We don't yet have customers that want to interconnect areas far away from each other, like 10 kilometers from each other. Not yet. It's feasible, doable, but we don't have any customers in that direction yet.
Okay, plus you said you're hiring. Who are you looking for?
Yeah, so what are we looking for right now for new hires? We need roboticists, so people that can program drones, or at least robots, people that have some kind of experience or want to experiment with indoor localization and indoor flying with drones. We are already in contact with the engineering department, the computer science department, looking for interns for thesis or even for full job positions. So if you are interested, that would be great. Please get in touch. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, guys, 5 minutes break, and then you can grab a beer over there, drop some coins, have a chat with someone, go into the toilet over there, and then we start again with Lowell.
Com'è? Per un paio di esami oggi, lavoro qua a vedere che succedeva. Comunque ci stavano due teste grosse, quindi non senti che dicevano. Sono venuto sulla fiducia. No, io dell'argomento non capisco un cazzo, quindi sono venuto proprio con la pura curiosità di vedere e basta. Valuta se sono... No, io non so nemmeno che argomento è, non so nemmeno... Penso sia sempre sui droni, credo. Però non ti ripeto, qui finisce la mia conoscenza dell'argomento. Ci sono i droni, che fine. Però è interessante. Che hai fatto? Ho preso la birra. Te l'hanno assicurato bene, vedo?
Pensi che basti, no?
Sì, sì, va benissimo. Ma che cazzo?
Can you hear me? Okay, get back to your seats, because we're starting again. I know it's nice to talk to people, but you're going to have plenty of time later with also some food, which is generally nice. Okay, before starting again, I remember once again. Okay, before starting again, I remind you once again, there's this event happening tomorrow in Polvo, the Italian Innovation Day. If you want to pass by, take a look at some Italian innovation, some disruptive ideas, get in contact with mentors, startups, coaches. Also, Lowell will be there to mentor some startups. Think about that. And as well, from 6 to 8, there's going to be Open Web Lab presenting a very hacking Christmas. So you can come to Polvo, stay there till 4:30, and then go down to Trento and come at this event. I will be there as well, so if you're interested. There's also some people from, okay, raise your hands, okay, some people from the biotechnology environment here in Trento that you might talk to later if you're interested. And all the people down there at the end of the row, at the end of the room, come closer, there are some free chairs here, so you feel like there's some empty spaces. Okay, finally, we can start with Lowell presenting. And yeah, takes a while. Okay, here we go.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me okay? Yep. Yeah.
A big applause.
Thank you. I'd say it's tough duty to follow the drone guy because drones are cool, right? So we all like drones. But I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Yeah, speak. Usually I'm too loud, so I'll make sure I speak into it. So a pitch on behalf of Nomadic Mentors. It's the group that I'm a part of. It's a group of mentors that was started out of Southern California and it's spread around. Basically people that have some experience, had a little bit of success along the way. We like to travel, and we're part of this global community of startup entrepreneurs, and we like to help. So we just we donate our time, and we get to travel to cool places and meet interesting people. And if anything we can share helps, we all had a lot of help along the way. It's really hard. Some of you have heard me probably enough today. I met some of the guys earlier today, but it's a lot of work. There are a lot of hard lessons that were learned. A lot of things I wish I'd known beforehand. It would have made it easier. And so I just kind of compiled some of those things, and I'll share those with you tonight. I'm happy to chat afterwards. So kind of some lessons learned. So, and you'll see if you add up all the numbers on here, I've been doing this for a long, long time. But I was a developer at one point, way back in the day of Fortran and C and some old languages. But when I was about 15 years old, so I always loved to code. Loved to write code. I did that through college. I was a computer science, electrical engineer. Worked for a startup in college and had exposure to sales. So I made the difficult decision to go down the technical sales route, which was okay. I actually had a lot of fun with it, but I had to decide to go technical or the sales side. I did not want to work for a big company. My dad had worked for IBM for 31 years. But I had an offer from a big company, Rockwell, and I thought, great training program. I'll work for them for 2 years, and then I'll leave. And I didn't leave for 18 years. And it was. I had a lot of great opportunities, but it was a little bit of a soul-sucking experience in some ways. Working for a big company, but you kind of get afraid to leave. And finally, I realized I either had to stay for the rest of my life or leave. Life is short. I made the choice to leave, to go to work for a company called GMI in an industry that I knew nothing about. So online market research data collection. And it was a lot of fun. So I led the sales efforts, sales and operations. We scaled that in 5 years. We went from less than $1 million to it was actually $5 million per month. So we had a $60 million run rate. And the company was eventually sold for $100 million. It was a lot of work at the time, but it was a lot of fun as well. There are problems when you grow and problems when you don't grow. The problems when you grow are definitely the kind that are more fun. I then went to work for one of their competitors based in Paris. So I went to France for 3 years. I was with the company for 5. They were a little bit larger. They were at 10 million, and we scaled them to 120 million. We sold it to a private equity firm for 260 million. And then I wanted to start earlier, so at an idea stage. So 3 of us had an idea, and we turned it into a company, and we actually just sold it 3 weeks ago. It wasn't a big financial success, but it was industry leader, and I learned a phenomenal amount in another completely new industry, healthcare IT, which in the US is, healthcare is a mess. We fixed a small piece of it, and so now I'm trying to figure out what to do next. And then I work with a lot of startups. I do a lot of mentorship. FlexMinder was actually a Techstars company, which is interesting. So I know Techstars well, I know Founders Co-op and a lot of different groups, and so I spent a lot of time. I met with a company today, I'll meet with several more tomorrow. And I love to do that, just kind of do whiteboard sessions, figure out where to go. So this is what I typically see. I see a lot of smart people that identify a problem that they want to fix, and they have an idea of how they can make the world better by solving that problem, typically with applying technology, and they come up with a new product, which is great. The reality is 90% of startups fail, but I would say most meaning more than half, more than 50%, actually have a good idea. They've identified a real problem. Okay. They've identified a real problem, they have a good idea, and they actually build a decent product. And they expect once that they build that the company will grow, and they'll be the next Facebook. Because once they solve this problem with this great product, everyone will come flocking to it. And they'll have a big exit, and they'll be giving talks and be all excited. But the reality is, most companies don't grow. They may find 1 or 2 customers, but they don't actually scale it. And they overlook how difficult the sales and marketing piece of it is to truly scale a company. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that I've learned along the way that can help a company be successful. So the first thing is it sounds simple, but really, who is your customer? Are you a B2C company? Are you B2B? If you're B2B, that's where most of my experience has been. Specifically, who is it? Is it an insurance company, a law firm, a hospital? Is it small business? If it's small business, what type of small business? It is, be as specific as you can be. Enterprise, media company, research firm. Really figure out who your target is. Look at who naturally adopts your product, and then find more that are just like that may have the same title. Whether it's drones is a great example. Figure out who uses it, and then find other people just like them, because that group sees value in it if they like it. So figure out where everyone else just like them lives, and talk about it. And I'll talk about ways to find them as well. And really think through startups, and I'll talk about this in the messaging. We like to talk about what we do, like what it is, what the product is. But customers, or prospective customers, really want to talk about their problems and the pain that they have. So you need to lead with their problem and how you can fix their problem, and if they want to learn more about it, and you end up talking about your solution. But what most people do is say, my name is Lowell, my company is X, we do X, Y, Z, and they don't care. And you'll lose people. Now, I don't just mean the conversation when you're speaking with them. I mean your website. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. But what your website says, if you have an email campaign, what the email says, literally what every single word says. If you're at a conference, you have to hook them with the first few words to capture their interest, so that they'll spend more time learning more about it. Otherwise, they'll just delete it. Again, back to them. What does it do for them? Not what does it do, what does it do for them? How does it make their life better? And as intuitive as it sounds, when we get so close to it and building it, it's hard to back up again and think about what it's like to be in the customer's shoes. Pricing, we talked a little bit about this today. You can spend a lot of time on pricing, but how much will they pay? I see most startups tend to undervalue their product, and I understand for the first 1 or 2 or 3, you may need to give a discount, maybe even give it away because you need someone using it as a reference. But after that, we typically undervalue what people will pay for it because we don't want to lose it. Raising money, at least in the US, 1 million annual run rate is typically what you need to raise a much larger round if you want to build a big company. So I just really encourage companies to focus on what does it take to get to that benchmark. Obsession with listening, like really talk to your customers. I find this oftentimes entrepreneurs are successful because they don't listen to people who would otherwise say it's risky, it's dangerous, you should just go get a job with a big stable company. And they're successful because they don't listen to those people. The danger is once you have customers, you do need to listen to your customers. You need to hear the bad news. What do they not like about it? Like really hear it. And sometimes you don't like to hear it, but internalize it and figure out how to overcome those things. Because if they don't truly see value in it, you won't have a company anyway. So you want that brutal feedback. You get that in a lot of different ways. I'm a big fan of surveys, both qualitative, so if you talk to people eye to eye, ask them questions, and then quantitative as well. So if you send out surveys and collect the data and look at it. I say survey on a regular basis, if not every customer. Like really survey them and ask them, how did they find out about your company? What do they like about it? How does it make their job better? What problem does it solve? I've been very humbled by almost every company I've been a part of. Why customers actually like it and use it is often different than why I went into it in the first place. It may solve a problem slightly differently than they do. And even the language that they use, and thank you for tolerating my English, but even the language that they use, the specific words that they use in a certain industry can be very specific, and it's important that you use that same exact language to message back to them so that you're credible right away. If you use, I can't think of a good example right now, but if you use slightly the wrong language for their industry, it may become apparent that you don't really get them and their industry.
So is that
Sorry?
using yes, or is that according to UK or?
That's a good, yeah, right, yep. So I talked to you about the surveys. Speak with them. I can't say it enough. Don't talk to your customers every chance that you get. I'll talk about how my favorite way to talk to customers. And see what they see. This is what I find fascinating. Every company I've been a part of is everyone will map out on the board like the onboarding flow of a customer. And I work with mostly software, so I got a software background. And they'll map out, they'll tell me, well, first they see this screen and this screen and this screen and this screen, and this is how it works. But it's amazing if you log in like a customer does, it almost always works somewhat differently than you think it does. So do what your customers do. See exactly what they see. And then also I encourage you, if you work with a lot of different customers, videotape them. Find a new customer, sit quietly in the background, or don't sit there at all, and videotape them and have them sit down and sign up and watch them. And there are programs now where you can actually pay people to sign up for your software. And see where they spend time and where they get hung up. It can be very humbling, and sometimes very simple things that you overlook until you see people go through the process. But you can learn a lot from that. It's important to eliminate those obstacles. It's hard enough to grow a business without simple things that get overlooked. So messaging I talked about a little bit, and literally with messaging you're trying to capture their interest and earn more time. And literally every single word matters. On your website, when they land on your website, if you do advertising, it's expensive. Facebook advertising, search advertising. The ad, the copy, do some testing, do A/B testing, and see what actually works. The website, a lot of people don't put a lot of time in the website. Most startups I talk to will tell me, I say, well, show me your website. The first answer is usually, well, I don't really like the website, but I haven't had time. If that's where people go, if that's an important decision maker, make the time to get it right. And if you're not good at it, that's okay. Try to find someone who is good at it. A/B testing, I'm a huge fan of A/B testing. So run things in parallel, do it again and again and again, and look at the data. If 7% convert on one, 9% convert on another, you say, well, it's only 7 to 9. That's almost 40% more people that convert. That's a big deal. If you can get 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 13 to 15 to 20, you can build a big business. So I talk about focus on your pain, and this is maybe less verbal than it is in writing, but again, it's not, hi, my name is Lowell, I have a product, a company that does X, Y, Z. They don't care. You'll lose people. They don't care that much. Some people will. They'll be nice. But if I lead with, and this is actually true, we start off, we call people, our website would talk about, here's who we are, We have a company, we've got software that automates. Is it factual? Yes. Is that what we do? Yes. Did customers who'd never heard of us or even understood what we did was possible care? No, because they're not looking for that solution. And this may not make sense to you guys, but when I talked about, when I simply said, hi, and he says, what do you do? And I say, we reduce debit card substantiations by 75%. This was the biggest cost center that TPAs have. It's the biggest pain a TPA has. So when I say I can reduce those costs by 75%, then he'll say, well, how? And I say, well, then I can talk about the other things. But if I simply talk about that part first, they'll say, oh, that's nice. Do you want to get a coffee? So there's bottom part work. And I got this, and when I started the company, I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know what debit card substantiations were. But again, this is a term that they used. It wasn't what I used. And even the fact it was a debit card, it wasn't credit card, it wasn't an FSA account, all the different things that were in there. So understand what your industry, the terminology that they use. This is another thing I see a lot of people that will do is weak language. Hey, sorry to bother you. I know you're really busy. Hey, if you don't mind, could you maybe talk to me for a few minutes? It demeans yourself. It's being polite, and you have to put the cultural filter on it. I understand that, by country. But be confident, be specific. Your competitors have reduced substantiation costs by 75%. Other claims, would you like to see how? You can be very polite, you can be very professional, but be very direct, and don't qualify it. I see a lot of people do that with that weak language, trying to be nice and trying not to be offensive, but you can actually lose people along the way. So I talked about this a little bit earlier, but ID the profile of your customer. And it kind of comes down to, what's the title? Is it Director of Operations? Is it VP of Finance? Is it the CEO? Are they small businesses? Are they medium-sized business? Are they global multinationals? But be as specific as you can, and then try to find out where you can find more of those people. I'm going to talk, I think, more about that in the next slide. I'm a big fan of referral programs. If you have customers that like your product, and again, I'm thinking with SaaS software, give them some kind of incentive to tell their friends. Word of mouth is the most powerful way for people to try things. If you have a trusted friend, they say, hey, this is cool, you should try it. You're more likely to try it than almost any other message that you can see. Targeting and retargeting, if you have the budget for Facebook, if someone clicks and they scroll, it means they have some interest. Those are good people to spend money to retarget, to kind of go back after them. Even though when you're being retargeted, sometimes it feels kind of creepy, right? You click on an ad and then you go to Facebook and all of a sudden ads for them are coming up on it. But then channels and partnerships. I think channels, especially for a small company, I have two words of advice that are a little bit different. One is channels and partnerships can be a great way to expand your sales force. A larger company with a large sales force, if there's something selfishly in it for them, they can really help to expand your business. It's really helped with some of the businesses that I've helped to scale before. At the same time, they almost never deliver as much as you think they could. And it's simply because their priority is on their product first and yours second or third or fourth or fifth. But even if you're fifth, it's better off than being zero. Or if you can easily integrate with an Evernote and be in the Evernote store. Granted, there might be 5,000 other apps in the Evernote store, but you can get a trickle of business out of that that's actually helpful. Same thing with Salesforce.com. It depends on what your product is, but if you can get in their store, just being there may trickle 5 or 10 leads per day, which is great. There's no ongoing cost for it. So the marketing, advertising sides I talked about. Facebook, there's a lot that can be talked about that. The nice thing about Facebook, the little bits of wisdom I'll pass along, you can do inexpensive tests. You can run 50 bucks or 50 euros, 75 euros, 100 euros to run a test in a day. You can run another one the next day. And you can compare those to see whether or not they convert. So you can test them and you can kill them if they're not converting well. You can't afford to spend, a lot of money gets wasted on Facebook. Facebook is great, especially for small business, because you can target very specifically who you want to find, both demographic by title, by interest. But take the time, read through their definition of what the interests are. You may want to target small business. They've got 5 categories of small business. If you read the definition, one definition of small business will say that in their profile they've listed themselves as a small business owner. Another profile may say that these are people who have liked something related to a small business, right? And there are 10 million of those people, and there's 50,000 of the owners. Well, the 50,000 is who you want, not even though the 10 million looks attractive. Facebook is also typically, everyone uses Facebook. When you're on Facebook, you're not usually going shopping. You're hanging out with your friends. You want to see what's going on. So when people see your ad and they click on it, they're rarely going to buy. But you are trying to, especially with B2B, you need to touch people like 6 different times to get them familiar with your product. But they're rarely going to buy from Facebook, but you want to retarget them because you're bringing them along this path of awareness of what your product can do. Search is a little bit different. If someone is specifically looking for drones that charge themselves and scan airplanes, right? If someone Googles that, they're farther down the sales funnel, so they're much more likely to buy what you're selling. It's also much more expensive, so you need to get it right. And again, I encourage run small experiments, see whether or not it converts into paying revenue before you can, if you raise money, you can blow a lot of money very quickly on advertising. It can work, it can make your business, it can also kill it. SEO, there's a lot out there on SEO, I won't go into that. I'm a huge fan of conferences. I would credit that as probably the #1 thing that I've used to help by the 3 different companies, actually 4 that I've been a part of. If your industry has a conference, again, if you think of the people with the title, figure out what association they belong to. They're obscure associations that people belong to, and they typically have a conference. Go to that conference, attend, you can meet people. If you have a booth, you can often get the email list of all of the attendees, which is super valuable. You can follow up, you can market to those people. Content marketing is a big piece of it. I'm going to jump to the next one though. Sorry, let me go down here. I'm going to the conferences part, I kind of wanted to continue that thread, but the other part of conferences is you know, I talk about like attack mode, is if you can get a speaking slot, it's great. If you can get on the stage, and not the paid speaking slot in a side room, but if you can get on the main stage because you're disrupting their industry, you're super credible, and it's like free advertising to everyone that's out there. The booth, as I mentioned, you can get a mailing list, but I also find meet people. I mean, I show up in the morning and I stand by the coffee because everyone wants coffee in the morning, and I just talk to people and say hi. At some point, they'll say, "What do you do?" And I say, "Oh, we reduce substantiation by 75%. Oh, that's pretty cool. Give me your card. You can follow up with them." Typically, if people go to a conference, they talk to each other because that's who you know. We kind of have a rule: you can't talk to each other during meals. So breakfast, you sit at a table where you don't know anyone. Well, guess what? If there's 2 people there, you sit at 2 tables. You're going to meet 15 people at breakfast. You meet 15 people at lunch. You're going to meet 15 people at dinner. You're going to meet 50 people in a day. If 10% are customers, you pick up 5 customers in a day. It's a great way to meet people, and you don't have to be obnoxious. You just show up and say hello to people. LinkedIn is another, I think, super valuable tool. Again, if you know, you can search for the companies. If you know the titles that you're looking for, LinkedIn's a great tool. Again, your outreach to people when you want to connect on LinkedIn. Take a lot of time to really think through what words are going to resonate with that person. That person doesn't really care who you are, but they care what you can do for them. So if you can tap into that in the, whatever you get, the 100 words or 100, it's like a Twitter thing, right? It's a very short amount that you can say before you connect with someone on LinkedIn. It's a great way to meet with people. If they connect, you do have to follow up because there's no easy way for them to reply to you. At that point, you can send them a PDF, you can send them a PowerPoint, you can send them your email address, your phone number, and then try to get it out of LinkedIn to continue the conversation. It's hard work. It really is. It's an outreach thing. But if you really want to build a successful business, like once you get the problem idea and you realize this thing really works, it helps people, these are some of the tactics that can really help to build your customer base. Okay. We're out of time.
Okay, any question? Otherwise, I have some as always. Anyone being interested in growth? Yeah. Tiago, maybe you managed to reach it? Yeah.
Do you think that a startup has to have a dedicated person only for this team, for the growth, or is it a thing that everyone can do?
You definitely don't have to have a dedicated team. Typically with a startup, you can't afford a dedicated team. Part of it just depends on what people's comfort level is. You got to be honest about what people are good at and what they're comfortable with. If you recognize, like, I'm really not good at this, or I'm not comfortable sitting at a table and talking to people I don't know, then it would be wise to bring someone on to do that. But initially, I would encourage, my co-founder of the last company, he calls himself an introvert. He said he hates talking to customers. He was really good with customers. Now, he hated it, but when he had to, he was really good at it. So, yeah, so it just really depends. If you're comfortable doing this on your own, it's not rocket science. It really is. It's just, if you have a conference with these people, your goal should be to try to meet everyone before you leave. And there will be a natural connections will occur. I mean, I think relationships are the way of the world.
Any other question? I guess it was interesting anyway, and anyhow, going to conferences and stuff, I managed to talk to a lot of people and saying, hey, I have this Speck&Tech group, there's cool people talking, so even if it is for Speck&Tech, EIT Digital, whatever organization, any idea you have, go and talk to people, because anyone brings really added value. And what you said, to know who your customer are, or the people that are interested in your product, the people that might give you an added value, go and talk to them. And we have a question about that.
Is it necessary to have a working prototype during the process of refining your idea? Is it really necessary?
The question is it really necessary to have a working prototype in the process of shaping your idea?
No, I don't think, no. I think most companies probably have a pivot to some degree. I mean, it doesn't usually end up being exactly what they thought it would be. My most previous company, one of the co-founders had I won't get into the whole story, but he had a problem over the holiday because there's a year-end cutoff. And he said, there's got to be a better way to handle this. And we said, well, let's apply technology to do that. So we originally thought this solution makes life easier for American consumers of healthcare, which is everyone. It makes it easier for them to save money. We initially thought we'll go sell this to consumers. Consumers didn't want to pay for it, and the complexity we had for every consumer that signed up, we'd have to integrate to their they call them third-party administrator and their health insurance company. It would cost us $20,000 for one person to sign up. So that was a failed model. Then we went to the employer, and the employer said, hey, this is a great idea. Why don't you check back in 18 months and we'll put it in the capital cycle for 2 years from now, right? We'd be dead by then. We went to insurance companies, and they said, yeah, this is interesting, but we won't pay for it. And we thought, well, this thing is dead. And then we discovered this group of things called third-party administrators. And and this is kind of, to your point, we had a prototype. It really didn't work yet, but we sat in their conference room with the owner and said, hey, actually, we thought, the thought that we had was, well, we're making life easier for consumers because they no longer have to fill out paperwork and mail this stuff in. And one day we're sitting down, this is the common sense part, and we said, no one wants to pay for it, like what do we do? And I said, you know what? Because we're saving work for the consumer on one end, someone receives that paperwork on the other end. They have to process all that crap. Like, if we automate this, I bet we eliminate costs for these people. So we went and we sat in the boardroom with one of the owners and said, hey, if we could develop software that eliminated the need for anyone to do this, and we sent it to you digitally, would you be interested? And I'll never forget her response. She said, that would be the holy grail of our business. And I thought, really? I'd never heard of a TPA before. I didn't know what they did. But they're these middle people that process all this crap that we have to send in. And that's where our business was spawned. So that's a long answer to your question. But the short answer is, no, you don't. No, you should start talking to potential customers right away. Probably earlier is better because you could spend a lot of time on a working prototype thinking it'll work this way, and then when you talk to a customer, they say, I don't care about that. I'd rather have it this way. Then you have to go redo it all. So, yeah, it's never too early.
And I don't know if you have any idea in mind or whatever, but if you attend any hackathon or startup weekend or whatever, an event, you can just go there, pitch your idea, maybe work on the business model over the weekend, And then at the end of the 3 days, you might have a jury deciding if your idea is worth and taking it further. So that's definitely something that really validates your idea and it tells you, okay, you can scale it up with this, you can have a working prototype and then we can invest on it, or just abandon the idea, just keep it or go to somewhere else, you know? Yeah, any other question?
So you said that you love surveys, and I get that because they're a valuable source of information, but as a customer, I often find them obnoxious. So how do you make a survey that does not bother the is not so obnoxious to customers?
When I was looking at your presentation, I noticed that there are a lot of similarities between what you do in sales and user experience in a way, and UX. So yeah, it's exactly the same question.
Yeah, it's a good question, and you know what's funny? So the company GMI and Soluna, those were both survey companies. And the funny thing is I helped build 2 survey companies. I hate taking surveys. That's the funny part. And like those little those for customer service things that pop up, they drive me crazy, even the fact I have to click out of this. So I talk a little bit of both sides in my mouth. What I find is early adopter, some people will ignore it. I don't over-survey people, but typically it'll be once when they sign up. And I think you'll find, particularly the early adopters are often passionate about it. You'll know them, they'll know you, and so they're pretty happy to give feedback. And I think if you don't overdo it, I think keep it short and simple. I think keep it to, I think the worst surveys are the grids that you go down. People hate those. Simple yes/no questions are great. A little bit of open-end questions so they can type in text. I think, like I said, the quantitative stuff, but what I really like are the nuggets where people will, in their own words, talk about what they like, what they don't like, what they'd like to see, what their life was like before, like what problems does it fix for you. It's also very gratifying. I mean, you put your heart and soul into building these companies. When people give feedback on it that genuinely help their life, I mean, it feels good to realize that you're positively impacting other people's lives, especially if they're willing to pay for it. Yep.
Final question? Okay, there from the end. Yeah, go.
I wanted to ask, what's your opinion about NPS, Net Promoter Score, since we are talking about surveys?
Network?
Net Promoter
NPS.
Score.
Yeah.
How likely you are to recommend this service or product to a friend? So does it really help? This just one question in terms of surveys?
I'm probably not an expert on that. I'm a little bit skeptical too. I think they can be manipulated. You know, you can only launch those to people that you know like you, and you'll get a good. I mean, so I'm not an expert. We ran it. I put it in my slides, my pitch deck to investors, but I think there are other ways to get it. I don't know. I guess I don't have a good answer for you. I think there's some value to it. I don't think it's going to fundamentally change much of what I do. I mean, you're going to know whether people like it or not, and if you get a high NPS score or a mediocre score, you're going to kind of know anyway, I guess. But sometimes it will give credibility if people do like it. It can give you some credibility if you're talking to people like raising money. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
I guess it's almost everything for today. I mean, you can go home, or you can stay here and enjoy the Speck. Okay, we will have the next event in January. We haven't decided the date yet. We know for many people having exams or going on holidays or whatever, it's a hard time because you're going to have to study a lot. So we will decide a very clever date. So you can suggest us what you're really interested in, what you're interested in knowing, what you're interested in the topic or whatever. You can tell us, I will suggest you to do this, whatever. It cannot be for January, but can be for a number of events along the years, because we plan to keep this running and going. And yeah, I guess I can call on my collaborators, and thanks so much, especially to the 2 guys over there that caught all the Speck. Guido wasn't here, Samuele, Luca, Pietro, and everyone that helped us, Michele, everyone that helped Speck&Tech to be realized over this year. Willow was taking beautiful pictures today. Thanks so much for everyone joining our events. This is the end for year 2016. And yeah, hope to see everyone in 2017 for another number of events. Okay, I was told to say goodbye to the friends in Facebook.